Hey, as much as we'd like to think that we are rational, logical human beings when it comes to money, the reality is that how we handle our finances is mostly driven by emotions and subconscious programming, not rational decision making. So emotions like fear, guilt, shame, envy, under the radar emotions like these have a bigger say in our finances than we'd like to think. If human beings were 100% rational, none of us would have any problem keeping a budget, staying out of debt, saving and investing money. None of us. If it were that easy, we'd all be ninjas at managing money. In fact, if it were that easy, then getting a finance degree should have made me a millionaire. After all, I spent 4 years in college studying this stuff. But nope, even with a finance degree, I was horrible at managing my money in the past. And it wasn't until I started realizing that I had a ton of limiting money beliefs that were holding me back, and it was only then that I started getting good with my money. That's how I went from living paycheck to paycheck, being deeply in debt and totally ashamed about it, to now becoming debt-free and having a net worth of well into the 6 figures. Look, I'm all about the tactics and the head knowledge and the strategies, which I talk a lot about on my channel, but if you don't have the mindset to back it up, you're not gonna take action on what you know. And when it comes to personal finance and investing, action is everything. Information is easy to come by, but action is all that matters. Only action is going to grow your bank account. Only action is going to pay down your debt and get your money working for you. And if you want to be an action taker in your finances, you have to first knock down your limiting money beliefs. So without further ado, let's get into these 6 limiting money beliefs to drop ASAP. Limiting money belief number 1 is a belief that there is something wrong with me. For example, are you carrying a lot of debt? Or do you feel like maybe your peers are all doing better than you are? Something that really holds you back from making progress in your finances is shame. This feeling that somehow there's something wrong with you because of the way your finances look. Maybe you ran up a bunch of credit card debt, or maybe you don't have as much money saved up as other people your age. Or maybe you're not able to afford the lifestyle that some of your friends live. I mean, whatever it is, it could be anything. Whatever it is, there is nothing wrong with you. The idea that because you made some less than optimal money decisions in the past and that therefore you're less worthy as a person is just not true. Your financial mistakes don't define you. They're literally just mistakes that you made, like getting on the wrong train and ending up in Queens when you meant to go downtown. I've definitely done that when I used to live in New York. And so it's just something to recognize and course correct, not beat yourself up about. I remember when I first got out of college, I was like drowning in student loan debt. I owed about $100,000, and because I didn't talk about it with anyone, I felt like I was different from everyone else. Most of my friends at work, they all seemed to either have parents who had money or they just had a bunch of extra money to spend on going out and living in nice apartments. So rather than focusing on paying off my own debt, I just spent a lot of energy and money trying to fit in with them and look like I was more financially successful than I really was. And in retrospect, it was exhausting, not to mention expensive. So that's the thing about shame. It's totally counterproductive. But the moment I let go of that, everything changed. And it actually happened during a flight on the way back home from Burning Man, which for those of you that don't know is this really fun, eye-opening experience that takes place once a year in the Nevada desert. You should totally go because it's super fun. And I was probably just really relaxed after this epic week. So I was sitting there on the plane and all of a sudden I had this huge breakthrough. And I had this memory of how this moment in college as a freshman, I was talking to my dad about how worried I was about taking on all this student loan debt. And I remembered my dad's response where it was something along the lines of, "Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry, daughter, but I'll co-sign your loans. It'll be okay." So in that moment, I just got this bird's eye view of my life and my money history and my family tree and all this stuff. And I saw that any money mistakes that I'd made weren't because there was anything wrong with me, but just because I didn't know any better at the time. So if you grew up in a family that's used to being in debt or relying on debt to pay for things, then chances are you'll end up in debt as well because that's all you know. How would you have learned any better? I remember that moment on the plane just being a very emotional moment, and I was crying and just feeling this huge sense of relief. So literally after that, I just stopped wasting my energy feeling ashamed about my debt and thinking there was something wrong with me. And I just started freaking paying that shit off. The moment I got out of shame, I got into action. In fact, here's a screenshot of my student loan history where I was paying interest only for years and getting nowhere. And then once I had this breakthrough, I started just really aggressively paying down whatever I could towards my student loans. And 5 years later, I'm debt free. And that actually happened this year. So, moral of the story, if you have this belief that there's something wrong with you because your finances don't look a certain way, because you don't have a certain amount of money or whatever, just drop that belief like a hot potato. It is so not productive, and all it's doing is causing you to feel shame, which causes you to avoid your finances, which makes the problem even worse. So on and on it goes in a vicious cycle. Your financial circumstances do not define you. And the sooner you let go of all that heavy energy around your finances, the sooner you can focus on improving. Okay, the second limiting money belief to let go of is the belief that I should be further along by now. Have you ever scrolled through Instagram and looked at everyone's fabulous photos and just felt like total crap about yourself? Yeah, comparisonitis. It's a real thing. I swear it's a serious pandemic that is even more widespread than the coronavirus. In the age of social media, all you're seeing is everybody's highlight reel. And understandably, this can really cause feelings of inadequacy and basically push you to overspend just to keep up appearances and feel better about yourself. I am so guilty of this. But do not be fooled by everyone you follow on Instagram, and even if they look like they live these fab lives, because these are the actual stats. According to USA Today, every American has $6,200 of credit card debt on average. On top of that, according to CNBC, 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So chances are, whoever you're following on social media, chances are they're living beyond their means and paying for their lifestyles with plastic, and or doing it at the expense of other financial goals. Like I said, I've been guilty of this as well. Okay, I'm not saying everyone who looks like they have this great life is living beyond their means, but my point is just to not compare yourself to anyone unless you know their entire backstory. Because some people graduated college debt-free, maybe you didn't. Other people, maybe they learned how to be good with money from their parents because they talked about it over the dinner table growing up. Maybe you didn't. Maybe they invested in Amazon stock when it was at $10 a share. You just don't know. So stop comparing yourself and feeling bad about yourself. Everyone's journey is unique, and the more you can tune out comparisonitis, the more you can appreciate your own circumstances and spot opportunities to improve them, and basically just to get into action. Another limiting money belief to let go of is the belief that it takes money to make money. Look, it doesn't take money to make money. It actually takes resourcefulness to make money. And everyone can be resourceful. It does not take money to make money. If that were true, then all those Silicon Valley startups that have unlimited VC funding, they would all succeed. But that's not the case, right? Many of them actually crash and burn. Also, think about how many successful companies were bootstrapped with no money out of a college dorm, like Facebook when Zuckerberg started it. Let me actually tell you a quick story about how I became an owner in this New York City apartment building without putting in any money of my own. So it was about 6 years ago, and I was really interested in learning about how to buy multifamily buildings and start generating rental income. Problem is, I had no money and I lived in New York City. And at that time, you would need at least $1 million to buy anything. But I really wanted to learn about real estate, so I kind of finagled my way to get this free internship at this small but growing real estate investment company based in Brooklyn. I started working for them for free, but it quickly turned into this paid position because I was helping out so much. I would cold call property owners all over New York City, and one day I ended up finding this really undervalued building that the company ended up buying. And so to reward me for finding this killer deal, they actually gave me equity in the building. It's not much, I only own a tiny little slice of this building, but I didn't have to put in any money of my own. And that, my friends, is why it doesn't take money to make money. You gotta think outside the box. What skills and talents do you have that could add value to others? All of that you can turn into money. How can you create and earn money without actually starting out with money? The sooner you let go of the belief that it takes money to make money and the rich get richer and all of that, the more resourceful you will become, and the sooner you'll start seeing creative ways to manifest more money in your life. All right, limiting money belief number 4 is taking an all or nothing approach to your finances. If you don't have tons of surplus cash flow every month, it's easy to blow off saving money and making progress towards financial goals. And the tendency is to think, why bother, right? Like, I only have $20 and that's not gonna make much of a difference anyway. So I'll just start doing all that when I start making more money. That way of thinking is a mistake. It is so cliche, but little bits of money really do add up. For example, let's say you're trying to get out of debt. Now, putting even just $100 extra towards your debt every month can literally shave years off your loans. Because every time you pay down principal, it has the double whammy effect of reducing your interest charges and allowing a bigger portion of each monthly payment to go towards principal versus interest. So no matter how much debt you have or how little you have saved up for your future, like whatever your finances look like now, just start. Start with whatever you have, whatever you can manage, just go one step at a time, one monthly contribution at a time. And as long as you keep going, you're gonna get there. This reminds me of that one time when I was hiking the Grand Canyon, rim to rim, and it was such a hard trip. Like, let me tell you, every time I thought about how many miles I had left, it made me want to just sit down and give up. So instead of focusing on that, I would just focus on taking one small step after another, just one foot after the other, because I knew that if I just kept going like that, I would eventually make it to the top. And it took forever. I think it took a couple of days, but I made it. It's a cheesy story, but seriously, hiking the Grand Canyon taught me so much about life and also what it takes to accomplish big financial goals. Like, financial freedom doesn't happen for anyone overnight. It happens over lots of little steps, a few bucks saved here, a small monthly investment on a recurring basis there, a bit of side hustle income here, a debt that gets paid off over there, and so on and so forth. So you really got to respect that slow climb and the power of small contributions over time. Not only this, but saving and investing what you can, even when you don't have a lot to contribute, is really going to ensure that you build good money habits early on. Because if you have trouble saving money and staying out of debt and investing money on a regular basis when your income is low, who's to say you're gonna get any better when your income gets higher? Chances are that's not gonna happen. Old habits die hard, and making more money is not gonna change that. So save what you can, do whatever you can, invest as much as you can manage, even if it's just a little bit here and there, because it really does not have to be all or nothing for you to make progress towards your financial goals. Limiting money belief number 5 is that it's bad to be rich. Now, this belief might come in some other forms, like money changes people, or rich people are greedy, or something along those lines. Growing up in a very middle-class family, I always thought of rich people as this mystical, mysterious species that I didn't necessarily want to be a part of. And I used to go to church every Sunday. I don't anymore, but they would teach us verses from the Bible, like, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God, or something like that. And all kinds of brainwash about how rich people are greedy and evil and blah, blah, blah. And for the record, I'm sure that was a total misinterpretation of the Bible verse. But the thing is, if you subconsciously hold this belief that it's somehow bad to have lots of money, or it's somehow bad to be a rich person, it's gonna be impossible to get rich or to really have any sort of financial freedom. Because in order to become rich, you'd have to do what the rich do, meaning you'd have to invest, start businesses, get financially savvy, etc. But if you have negative beliefs about rich people, you're not going to want to be like them. And even if you do somehow end up making a lot of money, most likely you'll self-sabotage yourself in some way, because the subconscious mind is really powerful. For me, my whole money journey and this whole journey of wanting to become financially free, it started when I left home and I moved to New York City. I mean, it took me a while, but when I started meeting different kinds of people and being exposed to different mindsets, I started just seeing real life examples of people that I admired who are also rich, but also generous, smart, and kind. And that's when my beliefs started shifting. That's when I realized it's not bad at all to want to be rich. It actually enables you to help people out and live life on your terms, all good things. So that's when I really let go of any shame or embarrassment I had about also wanting to become rich. And coincidentally, that's also when I started really paying attention to my money and learning about it and trying to get good with it. Look, if you want to help people and change the world, you're gonna need money to do it, right? So the fifth limiting money belief to drop ASAP is that it's bad to become rich. Okay, last but not least, if you've ever thought, I'm late to the game with investing, I want you to drop that belief now. Yes, it is easier to build wealth when you start young. Yes, we all know we should have started investing like yesterday, but what is the point of beating yourself up about what you can't change? Even people who started investing at 20 wish they started when they were 12. And people who started investing when they were 12 wish they started when they were 2. And on it goes. So instead of worrying about how old you are right now and how you should have started sooner and all that, just focus on productive questions that will actually improve your situation. Like, okay, I'm XYZ age right now, but what can I do now? Or how can I best invest my money given my age right now? Use your energy to ask productive questions instead of crying over spilt milk. Whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or even 60, there are things you can do right now to guarantee a better financial future. You know, cut down your expenses, start looking for ways to increase your income, or better yet, pick up a personal finance book and start getting educated. I've put the links to some of my favorite book recommendations right below this video if you need a place to start. There's always something you can do right now. We all make financial mistakes and we all have things we could improve with our finances. Literally nobody is immune to this, including me. You've heard my stories. My finances used to be a hot mess. And I truly believe that the starting point to making a change for the better is to recognize your limiting money beliefs. You can't change what you don't see. It's like the proverbial iceberg. That small portion that you see above water is how you're handling your finances, but underneath the water is a vast iceberg of subconscious money beliefs, family history, feelings, and programs that are running you. So I hope this video has helped you to start uncovering any under the surface limiting money beliefs you have that might be holding you back from attracting and keeping more money in your life. I'm not a psychologist, but I just wanted to share my stories and I hope you've gained a lot from me sharing my experiences. The more aware you are of what really drives your spending decisions, the more control you'll have over your finances and therefore your life. That's it for today. This video was a little different from the info-based videos I usually do, so I'd love to hear what you thought and whether you want to see more stuff like this on my channel. I post new money and investing videos every Wednesday, so please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye!